Hello, my friends, and welcome to a brand new episode of Discourse in Magic. My name is Jonah Babbins, and today we are talking about riders. Specifically, A, what a rider is and why you should even use it. B, what goes into an artist's rider. C, something you can do to make your rider most effective. And D, a tip that I have for you about how to actually make the events go smoothly, more than just using the rider. So first, let's get into it. What on earth is a rider? Well, the answer to what a rider is a rider is a document that you send to a client or the booker before an event that shares all of the technical and logistical requirements that you need for your performance. Now, depending on the type of magic that you do, the scale of magic that you do, and things like that, that is going to vary what specifically goes into your rider, your artist rider. But there's going to be a few different categories, which I'm going to go through soon. Inside of the mastermind, we have a session also called Rider or Die. And in that session, we go through some artist riders, some riders of magicians, so you can see what goes in it and get some ideas for you. But for now, I'm going to give you the overview of the different categories so that you can start customizing the things that go into your rider. So what goes into it? Well, probably the number one thing that goes into your rider is going to be sound, the microphone and speaker setup and what it is that you need, whether you need a handheld mic in a stand, a headset mic, or whatever the case may be for you. Now, I used to bring my own microphone to an event. I would get there and I would plug it into the DJ's booth. But as I've been doing larger and larger events that have their own speaker systems and AV teams and DJs, it has become much easier and better to tell them to prepare this information for me. So, for example, instead of bringing my mic and plugging it in, I tell them exactly what microphone I need, exactly what stand I need, and it is ready and tested when I get there, which is awesome. And depending on the scale of your event, might be the thing that you should do too. The second thing that goes in riders most often is going to be the lighting. Now, if you're a magician, it may just be simple as a stage wash lighting. Different types of events may have lights, may not have lights, but you want to make sure that they know that it needs to be seen. Obviously, if you're doing magic with black art or threads or TV screens, then you may have different lighting requirements, but sound and lighting are like the two biggest pieces for a magician's rider. The next thing in this is stage. Now, for us in our rider, we have it split into over 100 attendees and under 100 attendees, because over 100 attendees definitely needs a stage in our world, what the size of the stage is, what should be and shouldn't be on that stage. And for under 100 attendees, it is, of course, different. Now, the next thing that goes in the rider is so important. It's probably, for me, the biggest reason why I insisted on a rider and not just telling them that I need a mic, which is the seating arrangement, where people are seated at the event. For us, for big corporate events, we basically only do two things. Either the magician's on stage and the tables are right up to the edge of the stage with no giant dance floor of doom in between the stage and all the people, or we make a mini theater on the dance floor with a bunch of chairs provided by the venue. People fill in those, we do the show, those are stricken, whatever, from that spot, and then the dance floor is open. This is generally how we do it because I'm sure you, just like me, have done events where you're on stage, there's a giant empty dance floor, there's maybe a couple hundred people there, and it is rough. And things like that are what basically made me insist on setting up the seating arrangement in a way that is optimal for a show. The next thing that goes in your rider is your recording policies. Are they allowed to record the show? Can they distribute the show? What happens with photos and videos? And are you allowed to record the show and use it for marketing purposes? I put this information in my rider up front, so they have no questions about whether or not I could be recording the show and then I could be using it for marketing purposes. I promise, if it's a security issue, they will see it, they will read it, and they will decline it. And that's what this is all about, right? Them noticing all of the pieces and saying, hey, you said you need a stage. We don't have a stage. We have 100 people. Could this work? And then you say, okay, give me a floor plan, all of that. So the rider actually maybe sometimes ends up being sort of a negotiation, but this is where you put the information. So far we talked about sound, lights, stage, seating, recording, and the last piece inside of your rider is the hospitality. That is everything from your green room requirements, hotel requirements, or parking requirements. Again, depending on who you perform for most, this may vary for you. For some of you, you perform at schools, you just need a parking spot that is near the entrance of the gym. For some of you that are traveling all over the world, you probably need some hotel requirements. I don't put, for example, hotel or green room requirements. I'm generally speaking in like a giant ballroom that a company has rented out. There is no green room. I'm not super worried about parking. Sometimes I'm in a restaurant or something like that. So I don't have some of those elements, but depending on who you perform for and what target market your rider is for would generally dictate which of these things you want to include. So we have gone over the basics of what goes in a rider, the different categories: sound, light, stage, seating, recording, and hospitality. Now, let's talk about what you can do to actually make this the best and make sure that you don't forget anything. And it is very simple. You're going to make a notes app on your phone, and you're going to title that Rider, or you can title it Rider or Die if you want to think of me. And every time you arrive at a venue and something kind of blows and doesn't work, you're going to make a note of it in your notes app. And of course, do your best to crush the show and crush the event that you are performing at and do an amazing job. For example, you get in a venue and you see ginormous centerpieces. And now nobody is going to be able to see the stage. And you go, damn it. You do your best. You speak to the person there. You talk about potentially moving them or something like that, or doing your best. And then you add in the note, please update my rider with centerpiece information. And then when you go home, you update the rider. The best advice I can give you about this is that your rider is not a document that you make once and it's used forever. This is a living, breathing document that anytime something catches you off guard at an event, you add it to your rider. So obviously, some of this will help with the basics, but mostly it is you and the type of magic that you do and the types of events that you do and the situations that you end up being in that is going to dictate what is unique for your rider. Is anyone else getting sick of the word rider? Anyways, the last thing about your rider is this. Even if you send your rider to a client, your rider is not a replacement for proper planning. What do I mean? Well, I'm sure you guys have had multiple discussions with people that book you, and then you show up and it looks nothing like what you discussed with them. And a rider is even worse. They read a document, sometimes it doesn't get sent to the right people, and so on and so on. So if you have specific requirements that are must-haves for your show, then just sending a rider and getting it signed is not sufficient for your show to be perfect. What you need to do is speak with the booker, get all of the information set up and working in advance, and make sure that everything is smooth. A rider is an amazing way to have all that information written down and get all of that expressed, but it is not sufficient to make sure that everything is in order for your event. So there you have it, my advice on riders. First, what goes in it: sound, light, stage, seating, recording, and hospitality. Second, how to make it epic, which is a doc on your phone called Rider or Die that you keep always adding things to based on the events that you go to. And number three, that even though a rider is important and you should have one and it is critical, it is not a replacement for proper planning to make sure that you knock the event out of the park. So there you go. I hope you liked this episode, and I hope, of course, that you learned something. If you need help with not only your rider, but also booking the type of 200, 300, 500 person gigs that require a rider and what to charge and what to do for those types of things, you know where to find me. Send an email to magic@torontomagiccompany.com. We can talk about what the mastermind is like and see if I can help you. Other than that, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for learning a thing or two, and I will see you next Thursday. Ciao.